It is Kenny's Audiophile Record Reviews. Thank you very much for viewing my video. As always, please like and subscribe. I sincerely appreciate that. Thank you very much for your comments, your viewership, and all you've done for me and my channel. Thank you very much. In this video, I'm going to review two SACDs. One is a SACD and one is a SACD set that you should definitely check out. The SACD I'm going to review first is a hybrid SACD, so it plays on CD and SACD players. And the last review is going to be from an album that I purchased from a thrift store. As of the posting date of this video a couple of days ago, we're going to get to that last. It's a jazz fusion album, very interesting jazz fusion album at that. But I'm going to start with this hybrid SACD that was released by Impex Records. Their version, this hybrid SACD that plays on the CD and SACD players of Getz Gilberto. Now this is a unique approach by Impex Records because this includes an album in two parts. The first album, like I said, is Getz Gilberto, but is a plangent processed and mastered by Jamie Howarth. Please forgive me, I'm mispronouncing that individual name. I sincerely apologize. That's one version of the album, and another version of the album is an analog master cut to DSD by Bernie Grundman. I'll show you what I mean on the back of the cover. I hope it comes out on the video. But you see, the first album on the SACD is a plangent process version of the album. The second one is a Bernie Grundman version album using the analog tapes cut to DSD by Bernie Grundman. Whereas a plangent process version of the album includes two extra tracks, Girl From Ipanema, a mono track, and Corcovado, a live version of that song on the plangent version. And again, like I said, this plays on SACD and CD players, by the way. Before I get to this SACD, in previous videos I did comparison shootouts between Getz Gilberto, and in the first shootout that I did, and the first shootout included analog sources and digital sources. I included that the Analog Productions Acoustic Sounds issue of the record was the best version of the record I had at a time. This is a 45 RPM version of the album. I included that this one was the best one I had at the time compared to, 33 1/3, an original pressing of the album. But, and also during that video, before I continue, during that video I concluded my best digital source of Getz Gilberto was this 2002 SACD version issued by Verve in 2002. This was the best digital version at that time, and I had various other digital sources during that shootout video, like HE Tracks digital download and a couple of other CD versions. Now I thought, like I said, the Analog Productions Acoustic Sound was the best version until I purchased this. This is Impex Records one-step version of Getz Gilberto. To me, this is the best sounding version of the album, at least in terms of an analog source. Whereas this one, before I got to the Impex Records version of the SACD, this Verve version issued in 2002 was the best digital source that I owned. But we're going to see if the Impex Records version of the SACD is better than the Verve version. Which one do I prefer? And is this one worth the price of admission, the Impex Record version of the SACD? I know a lot of you have various versions of Getz Gilberto, and some of you may not think it's worth, the financial effort to pay for this. This costs $35. I bought mine on elusive disc. And oh, by the way, the purchase of this SACD comes from viewer donations through the PayPal link in the description below. I really appreciate that. It really helps me out to review newer releases. Thank you very much for that. But this version, like I said, before I get to the comparison, it comes with a very nice booklet. And I'm going to explain the plangent process in a few minutes, but it comes with a very nice booklet inside. I think it's something like 23 pages. Very well done by Impex Records. A nice job for a SACD/CD booklet with a few nice pictures inside. See if I can show you one more. And then I'm going to read to you the plangent process, a brief description in this booklet of the plangent process and what it entails. So I got to go for the glasses for this. And here we go. And this explains plangent process. The sessions for this historic album were recorded at 30 IPS on analog magnetic tape, a high-fidelity format prized by audiophiles for its rich, dynamic, and musical reproduction. While this was the professional standard for decades, it's not without issues. With multiple tape machines and transfers involved in the original process, it's not uncommon for vintage masters to exhibit wow and flutter or minute speed fluctuations that affect the music's pitch on playback. A revolutionary invention of recording engineer Jamie Howarth, and please forgive me if I'm mispronouncing that individual's name, the plangent process recovers the bias tone present on the analog tape recordings and uses it to realign and lock in the correct pitch for optimum playback and sound quality. The plangent process has been embraced by world-renowned engineers mastering the catalogs of The Doors, Grateful Dead, Neil Young, Bruce Springsteen, amongst others. In mastering this super audio CD for Impex Records, is proud to utilize this valuable technology, which is lauded by legendary engineer and producer Phil Ramone. So it fixes, pitch variations and, anomalies in the recordings of, some of those older recordings, the plangent process. So this SACD includes a plangent process version of the album and DSD and Super Audio CD and CD format, and the Bernie Grunman SACD format, the analog master cut to DSD by Bernie Grunman. So there's two different versions of the album on this SACD, a great value because again there's a SACD layer and a CD layer on this. I took the booklet out, that's why you're seeing the SACD. And I'm going to get to the review of the Bernie Grunman cut and how it compares to my previous favorite version, at least best sounding version I had, which was this 2002 version by Verve Records. I'm going to compare it to the Bernie Grunman DSD cut. Now, when I listen to the Bernie, and then I'm going to get to the plangent process and my opinion of that sound. When I listen to the Bernie Grunman analog master to DSD cut, compared to the 2002 Verve, the Bernie Grunman version, for example, Apheta Gilberto's voice. And oh, by the way, before I continue, both of these versions, the Impex Records and the Verve Records version, Apheta Gilberto, her solo on the Girl From Ipanema, her solo was in the right speaker, just so you know that, because there's two different versions. This version's, both these are in the, her solo, her vocal solo, is in the right speaker. But listening to Apheta Gilberto's voice on both versions, there was a more of a natural tone, a more realistic tone to Apheta Gilberto's voice on the Bernie Grunman cut versus the Verve version. There was the Impex Records DSD version, it was more laid back in terms of her voice, a more natural feel, tone, and texture to her voice. and you can hear the the detail of the recording venue or recording studio a little bit more on the Impex Records. Impex Records version versus the Verve. Although it was very, very close. It was a very close comparison. I had to go back several times to really hear the anomalies or the differences between the two. Both are really great. It's almost like they're 1A and 1B. And there was more of a unique fineness and texture to Stan Getz saxophone, the guitars and the voices of Antonio Carlos Jobim and Joao Gilberto, in my opinion. More of a fineness to their voice, and more of a crisp texture to their voices and instruments on the Bernie Grundman cut versus the Verve 2002 version, although it was very close. Like I said, the Impex Records version, Astrud Gilberto, was slightly more laid back in terms of the voice and the sound of the voice, whereas the Verve version of 2002, it was slightly more forward, a little bit more power to her voice. So it depends on what you like. They both are really great versions of the record. However, the Verve version, I must say, if you listen to the piano play, the cymbal hits during Stan Getz solo on the song The Girl From Ipanema, the cymbal hits, on the Bernie Grundman cut, the cymbal hits are more localized to the left area or the left speaker. Whereas on this version, if you listen to the cymbal hits, if you have both of these, you'll notice that the cymbal hits are more widespread, almost like they're coming from both speakers. Some might like that effect on the Verve version, 2002 version versus the Impex version. Those type of differences or anomalies throughout both of them. You hear that some might like the, lack of a better word, more expansive sound of the cymbal hits when Stan Getz has his solo on The Girl From Ipanema on the Verve version versus the Impex Records version. Because again, the Impex Record version, for example, those cymbal hits are more localized to a certain area. The Verve is more spread out. Those are some differences. This is a slightly different mix than the Verve version, a slightly different mix from the Impex Records version. However, in terms of audiophile digital reproduction, I'm giving this, the Impex Records version, at least the Bernie Grundman cut, a slight edge over the Verve Records cut because of the, you can hear slightly better the nuances and detail of Astrud Gilberto's voice and Stan Getz on his saxophone. Not overly so. It's a razor thin difference, in my opinion, on my system. Oh, by the way, I was using two older SACD players. One is a Sony XA9000 ES Super Audio CD player, and I also played them both on a Denon, I think it's a 3910 SACD player. I keep the Denon in my system because I also like DVD audio, and that Denon plays multiple types of discs, so it's good to have. And also it's a great backup to my Sony XA9000 ES Super Audio CD player, the best one in my system. Now the plangent process version of the Getz Gilberto on this Impex SACD. When I compare that to the Bernie Grundman cut and the Verve version of the SACD, yes, it does correct speed fluctuation issues and some of those anomalies in the recording, but it does it at a slight sacrifice to my ears on my system, using equipment I was using, at a slight sacrifice to the detail, the minute detail of the sound and the texture and the fineness and the realism of Astrud Gilberto's voice in the right speaker and Stan Getz saxophone play around the middle of the soundstage, if I recall. There's a slight sacrifice in the sound when you use that plangent process, in my opinion. It's very slight though, but it does correct the anomalies, but there is a slight sacrifice, like I said, in the voice. Matter of fact, I think, if I recall, the plangent process version of Getz Gilberto was a little bit louder than the Bernie Grundman to DSD cut, in my opinion. So amongst the two on this SACD plangent process version or the Bernie Grundman cut, I would choose a Bernie Grundman cut, although the plangent process version is cool to have because you get a different approach, a different feel, a different point of view of that album, of this legendary album. They're both great. I'm choosing the Bernie Grundman DSD cut over the plangent version in terms of the detail of Apheta Gilberto's voice and Stan Getz' saxophone. The verdict: the Impex Records version of Apheta Gilberto, Getz Gilberto, is the best digital version I have. Is slightly better than the Verve version, in my opinion, which is quite good. Please leave your comments in the comment section below if you have both of them. That'd be super cool. And another review I'm going to briefly review, and again, this one was purchased via viewer donations to my PayPal donation link in the description below. Please consider that, because that allows me to buy and review newer issues that come out as they do. Yes, I get money from my AdSense from YouTube, but it's insufficient compared to what I can do through PayPal. So please keep that in consideration. Allow me to buy some of these newer reviews to review on my channel. But this one, the Sun Bear concerts, I showed this in another video. It was sealed. I opened it and listened to it. This I purchased at CD Japan. It cost $105, I believe. If I recall, it's a 6 CD set. And oh, by the way, the Bernie Grundman, the Impex Records SACD, again, this has a CD layer. And the CD layer, I listened to it. And the CD layer sounds quite good. I was able to listen to that through my Denafrips Pontus 15th edition DAC. And the CD layer sounds quite good. This costs $35, if I recall. But again, this one is an SACD set, Sun Bear concerts. There were a series of concerts that Keith Jarrett performed during November, I believe, 1976. This is the OB in the front of the set, in the back. It was originally released on LP, I believe, in 1978. LP set, I believe. And this is a SACD set, an SHM SACD set, I should say. 6 SACDs. I'll show you an example of one of the SACDs before I get to performance and sound. The example of one of the SACDs. Like I said, he played a series of concerts during 1976 throughout Japan, and it covers those performances. The album was originally released on ECM Records, and it comes with this very fine booklet. I'll show you a picture inside if I can find one. And again, I purchased mine on CD Japan. It cost $105. I also have a digital download version of this on HD Tracks. I think it might be a 96 kilohertz 24-bit file, if I recall. The SACD set sounds better. This performance, Keith Jarrett's performance, his solo piano performance, through this very challenging effort by Keith Jarrett. Some of these performances are going like the 40-minute range in terms of length of performance. But it's very intriguing to listen to because you don't know what direction Keith Jarrett's going to go to during his solo piano performances. And sometimes it goes from something very intense to something exceptionally beautiful in terms of his performances, how he does this on the fly and does this during these solo concerts. It's just a thing of beauty. This is something a joy to listen to in a music room. You could just shut out the lights or whatever and just listen to that super fabulous piano, because it was recorded well, in my opinion, these series of concerts. And just hearing the dimension and the grand dimension of his piano in a high fidelity system is a joy to listen to. And listening to the direction, the changes, and the just his concept of music during these solo pianos performances is just fabulously amazing. This is a sensational performance by Keith Jarrett, or I should say series of performances by Keith Jarrett, just no doubt. The performances are 9 and the sound a 9 in my opinion. What a grand performance by Keith Jarrett. However, in my opinion, Cone Concert will be the gold standard in terms of Keith Jarrett solos in my opinion. I have most of his albums on CD format, his solo albums on CD or LP format. I don't have all of them. Some of you, when I mentioned this set in the previous video, when I purchased it, mentioned some other solo performances by Keith Jarrett, which are quite good, so I got to get caught up on those, I must admit. But the Sun Bear concerts, this SACD, SHM SACD set, a joy to listen to. Like I said, it's available on CD, I believe. LP sets might be expensive. That's why I opted for the SACD set. Again, it costs $105 on CD Japan. I paid shipping as well. And there's an HD Tracks digital download version of it. I listened to that on YouTube. See if it fits your wheelhouse in terms of your vibe and groove style in terms of jazz. A tremendous set by Keith Jarrett. I thoroughly enjoyed that, and I think I'll enjoy that for years to come. Keith Jarrett, Sun Bear Concerts, Performance 9, Sound 9. Now I'm going to briefly mention this Al Di Meola album that I purchased at a thrift store. Al Di Meola, Land of Midnight Sun. At that thrift store, I saw one of my viewers. I see him occasionally at this thrift store I go to. He's a cool dude to talk to. In real life, I'm shy and I'm an extreme introvert. But this cat, he goes by the name of Mr. Uncool. He's very nice to talk to and easy to talk to. But thank you, Mr. Uncool, for viewing my videos. But this album by Al Di Meola was issued in 1976 on Columbia Records. I believe he was on Return to Forever, that jazz fusion group featuring Chick Corea, Stanley Clarke and crew around that time. And this is an album by Al Di Meola, and there's some great legendary artists on this album. You have artists like Steve Gadd, drums, again Al Di Meola on acoustic and electric guitar, mainly electric guitar, Lenny White drums on various tracks, at least one track, Barry Miles electric piano, Minnie Moog, Chick Corea is on one track, Stanley Clarke is on one track on electric bass, Jaco Pastorius is on one track on electric bass, Alphonse Mouzon on drums. So he really surrounded himself by great legendary musicians. There's a ring around album on the cover, but the album itself is in great condition. Cleaned this album and played it. This is a jazz fusion album released in 1976 that if you like electric guitar type or infused jazz fusion, you might want to check this out. This album is not for everybody when it comes to jazz fusion. It's just simply not. But like I said, if you're into electric guitar, jazz fusion electric guitar, it's something that you can consider. This is just a soft recommendation from me, not a strong one. Matter of fact, the first song on this album called The Wizard, I think that's the weakest song on this album. I would kind of almost like skip that one. I was not into that composition. Although the title track, Land of the Midnight Sun, is quite sensational in my opinion in terms of the guitar play, of electric guitar play of Al Di Meola, the drums by Lenny White on that. That's a tremendous jazz fusion composition and song. And he brings it back. He slows it down and does a acoustic guitar solo on a Bach, a jazz Bach piece. So this album has some variety. And then he picks it up on side 2. The first track includes Jaco Pastorius, Al Di Meola, Alphonse Mouzon on drums. That is tremendous jazz-laden guitar jazz fusion piece that you definitely check out. And the last one on side 2 is called Short Tales of the Black Forest. Features only Chick Corea on acoustic piano and marimba, and Al Di Meola 6-string acoustic guitar and gong here, as it says. And that's a great piece featuring Al Di Meola and Chick Corea. One you should definitely check out. Again, this album is not for everybody. Matter of fact, in terms of sound, I give the sound like, it's not an audiophile record. It's just simply not. I'm going to be generous and give the sound like an 8, probably more like a 7.45. And the performance is quite good. I give that an 8. But if you're into jazz fusion guitar, if you're a guitar player, check out Audiophile, Land of the Midnight Sun. I'd like to thank my audience for the PayPal donations through the PayPal link in the description below. It allows me to buy albums to review, like this Miles Davis Bitches Brew Mo-Fi one-step. And it allows me to buy Getz Gilberto on SACD to review and present to my channel, or the Keith Jarrett 6CD SACD set, I should say. This is not a hybrid SACD set. This is a SACD set. So it only plays on SACD players if I fail to mention that. There might be a CD version of the set, by the way. You just have to seek it out. So it allows me to buy those, new releases. Here's another example. I did a video on Japanese jazz. It was like two or three videos ago. Check it out. Go to that video about Japanese jazz. And I did a review of this CD, which is tremendous, and a video of this one. But matter of fact, that one is a SACD, and so is this. It's not a CD. But check out that one. But your donations to my channel allows me to buy those to review on my channel. It helps keep me, my channel, the ability to buy some new releases as they're being released. And I really appreciate that consideration. That PayPal link in the description below. But if you have the Getz Gilberto or the Sun Bear SACD sets, please leave your comments in the comment section below. Or if you have the Audiophile album, please leave your comments in the comment section below. Thank you very much for viewing my video. Please like and subscribe. God bless, strong love, and more important than the music, keep the peace worldwide.